one of the most fascinating things about yoga is that even though there are 8 distinct limbs involved in yoga, with yoga postures being one of those limbs, all the limbs are connected. And if you start doing some asanas, start doing a daily routine, going beyond the weekly class, if you will, and maybe doing a short routine at home every day, you begin to feel like, well, gee, is there something more I can be doing? Should I be meditating? Should I be doing some breathing exercises? And that's natural. When we begin to feel some of that stillness inside, we are naturally connecting with all the limbs of yoga, because yoga, the source of yoga, is our nervous system, which is really amazing. Yoga doesn't come from a bunch of writings and scriptures. The writings and scriptures all came from the human nervous system. So once we begin, whether we begin with postures or meditation or breathing or whatever, there's a very strong tendency for us to become attracted to the other limbs of yoga. So those who are taking yoga classes and feeling some of that relaxation and that stillness may well be looking for something more. And so I thought we could talk about that a little bit today. Really, from the AYP point of view, we talk about asanas in relation to all the other practices.
And the deep meditation is to cultivate the inner stillness, and the asanas, the mudras, the bandhas, those are to awaken ecstatic conductivity, right? Different direction.
That's correct. Although you get some silence along with postures, as anybody knows who's done postures, but they are primarily for cultivating the nervous system in a way that makes it more conductive to inner energy, and that is correct. And that energy, once it becomes awakened, does become ecstatic, and that's where the term ecstatic conductivity comes from. Asanas also prepare the nervous system for pranayama, breathing techniques, and for deep meditation. So there's really a progression from, in a session, from asanas to breathing technique to deep meditation. And if you do all 3 of those in a single session twice per day, not a long time, we're talking 30 minutes to an hour max, twice per day, you get a tremendously multiplied effect.
Now, the asanas, when you perceived and thought about having this discussion tonight, how did you want to approach it? Because it's a little difficult to demonstrate asanas over the radio, but the mudras and the bandhas, they're a little bit more descriptive because they're internal. So where would you like to focus?
Well, I think the first thing we should talk about is the postures, and for those who have not taken a yoga class, I would recommend that they do so if they're interested in getting a toe in the water, if you will. 2 of the AYP books do include instructions for a very basic asana routine. In fact, I call it an asana starter kit with about 14 postures with illustrations in both the Asanas, Mudras, and Bandhas book, which is a small book that came out a few months ago, and then the main textbook of AYP, which is called Advanced Yoga Practices, Easy Lessons for Ecstatic Living. That's been out for a couple of years. Both of them provide basic instruction. You know, if you're out in the woods somewhere and you can't find a yoga studio, like the Cincinnati Yoga School, for example, you can at least have a starter kit with these books. But to learn asanas, it's really best to do it with a teacher. And so go take an asanas class. And where we would go with that in AYP is to build a short routine of about a dozen or so, or 14 postures, and use that for preparation for spinal breathing, pranayama, and meditation twice per day. So that's really, about all we can say on the radio about asanas. We could talk about postures and stuff, but really hands-on is a better way to do it. And so if you get to the studio or read the book and get with someone that can help you, that would be best. And
one thing that might be worth mentioning, when I was going through the Advanced Yoga Practices book again, actually, you know what? It was the Asanas, Mudras, Bandhas book, where you talk about the different postures. If, for example, you're supposed to sit down and bend over and touch your toes, Well, if you can only reach your shins, that's the perfect place for you to be right then and there. So the self-pacing is evident once again, even in this particular portion of advanced yoga practices.
That's correct. In fact, one of the rules in all of yoga, and for many people who begin with postures, you run into it right away. The rule is don't force. Like you said, Scott, if the posture is to touch your toes and you can only reach your shins, that's the perfect performance of the posture for you.
Right. But I'd be willing to bet you an entire bag of Oreos that if you do that consistently, it's not going to take real long before, pretty soon, it's like, wait a minute, was that my nose hair that just hit my knee?
That's right.
I need to trim those.
That's right. And that's really one of the fundamental principles of postures, is that you go as far as you comfortably can in each posture, and then over time of daily practice, how far you can go just becomes a little more and a little more and a little more, and before you know it, you will be touching your toes instead of your shins. But don't try it on the first session. That's a kind of the American way, to go for it, to go all the way.
Get her done.
A lot of injuries happen that way.
All right, 7:21, we're going to take a break. Yogani is my guest tonight. You can see all of Yogani's readings at advancedyogapractices.com. That's advancedyogapractices.com. Love to have you join the conversation if you're so inclined. 877-345-3779. That's the number for all folks across the United States, and locally 749-1360. We'll be back on 1360thesource.com.